Hello, this is Brian. Today is Thursday, March 31st, 2022. I'm at Peter F. Schabarum Regional Park, and I'm on part of the Skyline Trail. Wow. So, did a small hike in the area, and now I'm just heading back and just enjoying the insane variety of eucalyptus trees here. Eucalyptus and eucalyptus relatives. And there's quite a variety here at Schabarum Park. Like for instance, we have, this is called Manna Gum, Eucalyptus viminalis. This is a smaller one. There are a couple of quite large ones here in the park. There might be a couple that are a little bit over 100 feet tall. So some of these trees can get huge. I think in Australia, where they're native, I think they can get well over 200 feet. Well, that's what the flowers look like right there. This is Eucalyptus viminalis. Beautiful. Yes, as much as I love native trees, I also love our exotics too. So we have quite a few species of eucalyptus and eucalyptus relatives growing here. So in this video, let's just go take a look and explore and see what other species we can find. So this is viminalis again, and here are the seed capsules developing right here. Very similar to Eucalyptus comodulensis, very similar to river red gum. Similar flowers, creamish white, and then the little seed capsules that are kind of round but flat on the top with little slits where the seeds fall out. And the leaves are very similar, kind of narrow on Eucalyptus viminalis, but the juvenile leaves, in other words, on younger branches and younger specimens, their leaves are also not broad like comodulensis, and they're oppositely arranged in the juvenile foliage. I'm not really seeing much of that here. It looks very similar to Eucalyptus comodulensis, but what you'll notice if you're looking in the trees, you'll see insane amounts of bark shreds in the junctions of the branches, where the branches join together. You'll see lots of stringy bark just hanging from the angles of the branches. And yeah, there are a couple here that are probably over 100 feet tall. If you go to Australia, you're going to find these probably over 200 feet tall. This is your bark on your viminalis. Very similar to Eucalyptus comodulensis. You can see here, kind of lightish colored flakes and a little bit of furrowing towards the base. Like I said, the juvenile leaves are oppositely arranged and the adult leaves are alternately arranged. On comodulensis, both juvenile and adult foliage are both alternately arranged. That's how you know. And we also have a tree I always enjoyed growing up with, red ironbark eucalyptus. This is Eucalyptus sideroxylon. And this is kind of why we're talking about red ironbark. Kind of the reddish, orangish, brownish hues inside the furrows of the bark. Now these trees are not nearly quite as large as viminalis, but 60-70 feet's not out of the question, but not very common. This one seems to be a horticultural variety called rosea. You can see the pinkish rose flowers, and that's a very commonly planted eucalypt out here in Southern California, and quite showy when the tree's in full bloom, actually. And what always got me, the bark. Love the dark bark with the reddish brown furrows inside of it. Always liked that about it. Always thought that was really cool. So, and then we got much more to see here. Then we have, now this one I believe is Eucalyptus Polyanthemos, the silver dollar gum. But there's another similar species called Eucalyptus boweriana, the blue box. It's very similar. But I believe this is Polyanthemos, but they are quite similar. These ones are not quite as flaky. See, the bark here is a little more grayish, brown, some furrowing. Oh yeah, there's some peeling, of course, but it's not as light colored as viminalis. And the juvenile leaves on the younger shoots and younger branches, quite ovate. And the older leaves are a little narrower, but the leaves are usually not super narrow, even on the adult foliage. I have a feeling this is going to be a multi-part video set, so be prepared. This is probably going to be in clips because I'm starting to lose battery power. So bear with me. Again, here we go with some of the juvenile leaves are very wide on Eucalyptus Polyanthemos and Eucalyptus boweriana, the blue box. Some of the juvenile foliage is almost circular on these very fast-growing stems. And here's the adult foliage of Eucalyptus Polyanthemos right here. A little narrower, not quite sickle-shaped like a lot of other eucalypts. And of course, we have another lofty viminalis right here. This is another really decent-sized tree right here, as you can see. Quite a large tree. Then we have a very commonly planted eucalyptus relative here as well. A couple of eucalyptus relatives, very close relatives I may add. Here we have Corymbia citriodora, lemon-scented gum. This is lemon-scented gum, very open, widely branched crown, very widely branched, very light-colored bark, and leaves that smell like citronella. See here, young Corymbia citriodora has bristly juvenile leaves that are bristly. All you have to do is barely touch them and you'll smell the fragrance very strongly. Very strong citronella smell. So it smells exactly like citronella. And then these are still kind of juvenile leaves because when they're more mature, the leaves are very narrow. And again, see, look at that very open, airy crown, quite tall, up to maybe 80, sometimes 100 feet. Maybe a little bit taller. And this is what the younger saplings look like. There are a lot of these saplings here because they get established very easily. You can see here, we've got a lot of Eucalyptus Polyanthemos seedlings and saplings here too. Eucalyptus trees can spread very quickly. You see those broad juvenile leaves. But yeah, very airy crown on Corymbia citriodora. Now, Corymbia citriodora used to be known as Eucalyptus citriodora, and a lot of people still stick to that name, though taxonomical revision's been done, I believe it was in the mid-90s, around the time when I was learning about these trees, and they've been reassigned to the genus Corymbia, C-O-R-Y-M-B-I-A. Corymbia citriodora, lemon-scented gum. And as I said, they're very vigorous eucalypts. So they're under the general category called eucalypts. Corymbia, Eucalyptus, and Angophora are generally considered as eucalypts because, well, two of the three genera have bud caps on their flowers, and then the bud cap falls off and then the stamens poke out on those. So the flowers will have a bud cap. Like for instance, on this Eucalyptus sideroxylon. It's called an operculum. So you see here, you can see the buds are capped, and then they open. And then what happens is the top of the cap falls off. And sometimes if you look on the ground, you'll see little bud caps on the ground. If you look carefully, little tiny bud caps, and then the stamens come out like this right here, as you can see. The bud cap falls off. You see there's a pointed detachment. You can see kind of where the longitudinal line is, where you can see where the bud cap falls off. That's the operculum. The genera of Eucalyptus and Corymbia, their flowers have bud caps, or opercula, that fall off when the plant stamens extend and open up. The genus Angophora does not. Angophora, I believe, does not have bud caps or opercula. In fact, Eucalyptus and Corymbia, those genera don't normally have petals, but I believe the genus Angophora do have small petals on them. Well, I'm going to switch batteries, and in clip number 2, I'm going to find some more trees in the area, more eucalypts, and I'll start talking about those. So stay tuned for part number 2, and that's coming.